Welcome to Connecting Greeks, a streaming comedy show and podcast designed to explore and enhance Greek culture around the world. Join hosts Angelo, Adi, and Foti as they bring you fun and interesting guests from all walks of Greek life. Grab a kafedaki and join us.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Connecting Greeks, the show where we bring you fun, interesting, awesome Greeks from all around the world. I am Ari. I'm coming to you live from Washington, D.C. And with me always, my Cubaro and my buddy and my friend, Foti Stamos up in Boston. How are you, Foti?
Yasu, Ari, thank you for that warm welcome. I'm doing good.
Always good. I'm glad. So
speaking of warm, I had to change my background to Greece and Santorini versus Boston.
Well, you know, the only background I think is cooler than that is the Hollywood backdrop. And speaking of Hollywood, all the way from LA, Angelo Tsaroukas. What's up, Angelo?
Ari, Foti, how are you, my friend?
Also, Angelo.
We got through another week.
Yes.
We got through another week. There's snowstorms in America and Canada, seismic shifts, but somehow we're here connecting Greeks, aren't we?
Yes.
And it doesn't matter now because as long as you have an internet connection and a computer, you can have a show now. As we learned, everybody now, I didn't realize how many shows there are out there, which is good, but I'm glad. I think we're inspiring a lot of people.
Yeah.
We're like a Greek restaurant. If you have one good Greek restaurant and it's working, another 15 open around you. It's the same here with our thing. And this week, I'm very excited about this week's guest. He's a good friend of mine from Melbourne, Australia. One of the most recognizable comedians in Australia. He's done some groundbreaking work. He's been television, film, stage, shows. He's hilarious. I've done shows with him. We're going to talk about all that stuff. Such a nice guy and a welcome guest this week, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. I want to welcome our guest this week, George Kapiniaris.
Hello, George.
Hello. Yasu boys. How are you? Somebody.
There he is.
There we are. We got you. How you doing, George?
Yasu Adi. Yasu Foti. How are you?
Thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure. I've been very excited about this. Ange was doing a show the other day, and he asked me while I was watching his show, and I went, "Yeah, wow, yeah, it's fantastic. I'd love to be a part of that."
Well, that's the only way to get guests is while you're doing another podcast. I saw George come on, but I already had it in my head to invite you, and I thought, well, this saves me an email. So in the middle of our other podcast, I said to George, look, George, I said, I want you to be a guest on Connecting Greeks. And he goes, yes, of course. Because
great to be a part of it. Yes, it's been, yeah.
So, George, I want to start off by asking you right now, what's the situation in Australia with COVID? And I mean, I'm only saying because those guys are in the East Coast. I'm in Nazi communist California. So we're still shut down here. So what's it like?
I'm in Nazi communist Melbourne. So Melbourne was the worst out of all the states in Australia. Yes. We've got Dictator Dan, we call him. He's our premier. So he's in charge of Melbourne, the Melbourne government. And we were locked down for nearly a year, 12 months.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Of lockdowns. We don't have the awful statistics you have over there in America, but 800 people died, mostly in aged care, and most of them were in Greek aged care.
Oh, wow. That sucks.
So it was St. Basil. So a lot of Greeks are very, very angry with our communist leader there. So you'll see most of the Greeks support, the nonsense, not support the nonsense, but are anti the nonsense. They're anti the vaccinations and the propaganda and all this sort of stuff, whatever it is, we're in their hands. But, like you were saying the other day, Ange, us Greeks, we don't trust a lot of BS because we've had a lot of BS over the last
now, George,
few centuries.
St. Basil's, that's the church with the old age home attached to it with the daycare center.
Yeah, that's right. It's in Coburg, I think.
And Coburg.
So the northern suburbs, yeah.
Right.
And they
been there.
So basically what happened is we had hotel quarantine, which oversees the expat Australians coming back to Australia because all of a sudden they thought Australia was the best country in the world, even though they left us for bigger and better things. They all came back and they were put up in hotel quarantine. And our Premier, instead of using the army or the police to be the security guards for the hotel quarantine, they used a bunch of security guards, run by the union, who the union were very, very good friends with our Premier, and they didn't do a good job. And most of them were kind of Pakistani, Lebanese, and we had Ramadan at that time. So what happened was our security guards they were having sex with the actual people in lockdown. Some of them, I'll have sex with you if you let me go out and do some shopping. And they go, yeah, fine with us. Yeah, go for it. So
good lockdown.
So the virus is going everywhere. Plus these guys are having sex with people that probably got the virus and then going to KFC and getting a bucket of chicken and then going to Ramadan and sharing the chicken with all their relatives. And all the relatives are working at homes, cleaning at the aged care. So it just spread. In like a few days, it was spread. People were dropping off and what have you.
Talk about
it was a big
strung that together because you have that Dan. We got Mussolini. Gavin Newsom. I baptize him Mussolini because it's a fascist state. Yeah, and as you know, George, 2020, I was supposed to come to Australia. It got pushed. 2021, they said, "Don't worry, you'll be back." That got scrapped.
Nothing.
So maybe. Fingers crossed, next year I'll be able to come to Australia.
I'll give you a big hug and a kiss, Ange, when you get here.
We can go for some.
But after you quarantine for 14 days, you're not getting here that easy, mate.
So it's pretty much, isn't it crazy, George, that this pandemic, now especially for us in the entertainment business and for comedians who do live shows. And the one thing I've admired about you from the time I've known you is your ability to come up with these new theme shows. And I always thought it's great because we do the same thing. A lot of people don't realize that in this kind of business, you got to reinvent yourself a couple of times during your lifetime. And
especially the Greek fans, I'm coming down to do a show. We've seen you before. No, it's new material. No, we've seen you. Yeah. All right, you've got to change the name of the show. So, Ange, if you come down, you do a show with me instead of, what are you doing, the Mati show at the moment?
It's called the Evil Eye show? The Mati show, yeah.
I reckon we should do the Clini Mati show, which is, when you eat a lemon and your eyes shut. Clini Mati, we should do that show.
We'll do it like that. But I know you're doing Crazy Rich Ethnics.
Yeah, we're trying to launch that show, but we keep getting locked down. But
you're getting locked down on that, right?
No, now we're fine. So we can go interstate. Up until the other day, I was ready to do some shows in Sydney. And there was another lockdown because another guest who wasn't supposed to be using a nubulator, one of those things that sprays the whatever in the air. He wasn't supposed to be using that, but he was using that. So, of course, he was spraying the medication in the air, which was mixing with his virus, which is going through all the hallways and what have you into the other rooms. So there was another outbreak, some dumbass that wasn't following the rules. So we had to lock down again. So we missed out on more shows. But we've more or less got it under control. So
that's the plan is... The thing, George, I want to talk about with you is that, you guys, you were a co-creator, and Ari and Forti, just so you know, George was part of a movement. It was called Wogs Out of Work. Now, they use the term wog in Australia for, as we call them, fobs, fresh off boat.
Or wops.
Or wops for Italians without papers.
Yeah.
Now, now, the reason I'm bringing this up, it turned into a television series. They had a sitcom that was a huge hit. And they had a movie called...
This is the Acropolis now was the series that we put together, and that was on the back of Wogs Out of Work. Yes, I was Memo, who was kind of like, Fawlty Towers had Manuel, the waiter. Well, I was sort of like that. I was kind of
how long
crazy. This was 30 plus years ago.
Right. I think it's strange. I kind of remember this for some reason.
Yeah, Effie was the girl with the bull fed. She was a bit like Fran Drescher from the nanny, that kind of a character. And then we had kind of like the yuppie ethnic Spanish guy and kind of the Anglo girl who didn't really understand what we were doing, but we knew what we were doing. And then kind of the disco-loving, petrol-headed Jim, or Nick Giannopoulos, and then like the Italian mafioso turned good character. But, it was a fun show. It was really, really corny, but lovable in all the characters because one of our Greekness were very charming. So it was really high rating show.
It was a great show.
Yeah,
it was a great show.
How many seasons did the show run for?
We did 5 seasons, about 63 episodes.
Wow,
so
that's really good. Now,
the
thing is, they also made the largest grossing independent film way before Big Fat Greek Wedding. They had Wog Boy, and
that was Nick Giannopoulos. So that was Jim, the Jim character. So he, after the Acropolis, now he decided to keep going. Where I decided to do serious theatre. He went on to do more shows like
a Wog.
Yeah, because then it was a stigma. Oh, you're doing that Wog show. All right, I'll do some serious theatre. I was doing Shakespeare and musicals and what have you. He went off and did a movie, which was a great idea. He's a great businessman. So he made the movie The Wog Boy, which outsold all the Australian movies that year in Australia. And was watched not only in Australia, but all around the world. For an Australian movie to do well, it's very rare. Crocodile Dundee, Chopper Read, and that's it. Right. Not many movies make it past because there's so many American and English movies that we watch in this country. You go to the video shop, but now, on Netflix, you're going to pick an American movie before you pick an English movie. And, if you're really desperate, you'll pick an Australian movie.
Now, the term wog, because in our world, I know in England it's a derogatory term.
Yes.
If you use it in the UK, because I know
that's right.
It is, but not in Australia. And
well, look, in Australia, it was like the wops, as you say, or the fobs. It was to the Greeks and the Italians mostly, but then the Lebanese were copying it a bit too. But in England, it's more the Indians and the West Indies and the black people that are called wogs. So there, it's fighting words. And originally, we were going to call this show was going to be called the Wog Bar, because that's what we used to call the old Greek, Kapiniaris in those days, go down to the Wog Bar. So we were going to call it the Wog Bar, and the BBC was interested in buying the show, and they saw the title and they went, there is no way we're getting involved with this show. With that title, no, you don't understand. This is like murder. We can't do that. So, we had to change the title. And then I thought of Acropolis now because it was an episode of The Flying Doctors, which was another show that I was involved in, where my character was a Greek character, and they called that episode Acropolis Now. And I went, why don't we use that title? It's the same company. Can we use the title? And they gave us Acropolis. That was it.
But now it's wonderful, George, because, you've been doing this for a long time, very successfully in Australia. And I know how hard you work because I'm always keeping an eye on what's going on. I think in a social media universe. And I was trying to find, it's so stupid how our brains work. George and I were communicating through Twitter DM, and then I look at my phone and I have your phone number. I'm like, why did I text them? And I'm so stupid. Like it's weird how you get in a system of doing something, and I'm like, I have this number.
Because we're used to communicating through Twitter. That's what we've done in the past. I didn't even know you had my number. So it's fantastic. So at least we got in touch. There's got to be one way.
We did.
We can do it, and we got in touch.
And I'm happy about that. Now, the thing I want to ask you, George, because with the way comedy's been the last couple of years, and I don't think it's that much different in Australia as it is for the rest of the world. I'm noticing now, even with some of my videos that I've put up and on YouTube and stuff, and they're different variations, and you don't know when something's going to go viral, by the way. You don't know. Yeah. Somebody keeps asking me, you don't know. Yeah. Now I'm starting to get, not backlash, but I'm getting from the actual Greeks in Greece going, that's malakia you're talking about. And I noticed people ask me, where was the most Greek place you've gone to outside of Greece? And it's Australia for me.
Yeah, that's right.
Even more so than Montreal or Johannesburg or New York. And a lot of people don't realize because you guys are so far away, going to Oakley And the largest Greek community outside of Greece is in Melbourne, Australia, even more than New York or Chicago.
No one wears masks in Oakley. No one will vaccinate in Oakley, I can tell you now.
So I wanted to ask you, like, so, because I think being a Canadian, you being an Aussie, the boys being American, we all grew up with that same stigma, growing up outside and then assimilating. And then
it's the diasporic Greek journey, isn't it? And we're more or less connected, like you're saying, connecting Greeks. Us diasporic Greeks have a connection, even though I've never been to Canada or America. I've never had the opportunity. I'm more connected to you than I am to Lakis Lazopoulos or one of those guys in Greece, because our humour is similar, because we come from a similar experience, the migrant experience, the underdog, the fish out of water that made it, and, we're the offspring, or they came from that. But we have a similar experience where the Greeks are going, what? They're calling us Wogs. How could they? We're not Wogs. We're not foreigners. We're Greek.
We're Greek.
I'm sure Yanni, from the Bucks is going through a similar experience that we're going through, being in another country. So,
yeah. Well, the thing is, George, because they're talking about coming back, and it takes COVID to sometimes make the weirdest bedfellows. So now there's a proposal to do some shows in New York, and they said, "What do you think about this and that?" And I said, "Well, I'm open to it." I dropped your name in the bucket because it's basically what we want to do is maybe make a show, because I think there's not many Greek comics in the world. There's a handful of us. Here, there's Basil and there's myself, Ellen Karras.
Ellen,
Yanni Pappas is a great comedian. He does a character, Mr. Panos, but Yanni doesn't really. Yeah. And I'm going to try to get him on the show too. And they're talking about what happens. It takes a year off of nobody working a Pesi Pina, and all of a sudden, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? And I said, well, it would be great to have an Aussie, American, Canadian type of show that we could do here, because we need to change things up. And I'm waiting to find out. It's still too early. There's been talk about it. And I'm hoping that maybe in late fall or early next year, we're going to be able to do something like that. Have you find the same experiences happened in Australia? I've been sitting around.
Look, I've worked with you, and even with you, working with you, and we had George Zach on the bill, remember, from the UK, who was an ex-Greek, and same with Katerina Vranas. We had similar kind of themes and material, even though it wasn't exactly the same. The themes worked together, and that was a great show. We did the benefit where we raised about $40,000 for
Diatrophy,
Stavros Niarchos Foundation, and we had two great nights, but especially the one in Melbourne, we were in front of 800 people at the Athenaeum Theatre, and we even had a token Greek. We had Tahir, who was Turkish, which was funny,
Tahir. And Konkilias,
which is a great actor. He's a lawyer, actor. But he's also an actor. Yeah,
an actor.
And he jumped on board too as our MC, and it was a brilliant night, wasn't it, Ange?
So, because I'm going to get to the show. So, guys, in America, Costadinos, we call them Gus, right? In America, Gus. In Australia, Costadinos is Con. So his name's Konkilias. His name's Gus Stomach. And I'll call Gus Stomach, and he was laughing. He was laughing at me. So this show George put together for Diatrophy, Feed the Children of Greece, was a collaboration. I was there doing the festivals. George had contacted me too and said, we're going to do this thing. Would you want to come on and do it with us? And I'm like, 100% yes. And
it's a great opportunity.
Yes, it was. We raised a lot of money and fed a lot of kids in Greece. And I attribute that to you, George, because you spearheaded it. And it was for the Diatrophy Association in Greece to feed the children. So, it came together. Katerina Vranas, great. She was ill for a long time. Now she's better. She was,
That's right, yes.
She was really bad. George Zach is in the UK, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he wanted to come to Australia too. He normally does the festivals here, and I think he's been grounded as well with the COVID thing. Yeah, that was a great lineup and we also had backlash then from the Greeks where I was going, we want to raise money for Greeks, so we want to put up a stand-up comedian with just Greek comedians from around the world. And the Greeks are going, we don't need your help. You're not Greek.
Yeah,
How
crazy.
Greek do we need to be to help the Greeks? Really?
No kidding.
So,
it's so stupid. I've had this argument, and I'll get online, and they're like, they call me Chris Farley. They call me Rob Ford, the mayor of Toronto, the guy that died. The guy looked like him. It's amazing that you talk about something cultural, but we have we live in the English world, right, guys? And it's like, and I'm like, you know what? You're akinoni. I love the word akinoniti, without community. Yeah, to me, that's the worst sense. Like my dad would say, "Aftinoli akinoniti," without community. You don't even want to call them horiates because horiates are good people who are farmers and have some order in their lives. Akinoniti is without community.
Barbarians.
Yeah, like barbarians, that kind of thing. So we have to deal with it.
Hermits, you'd call them hermits, wouldn't you? They don't want to. Yeah. They don't want to see they stay at home and they're on their computer, typing their little troll messages, and they don't want to fit in with the rest of the world.
Well, they hate their lives. They don't have sex. They're not making any money. They're living in their parents' basement. So it's like whatever, And I always find it funny. So for you now, George, I think you'd kill it in America for sure. And I'm not I don't blow smoke up your ass. I'm trying to see if we can work something out to get you over here. The same way I went with Russell and then I got lucky in Australia because I was able to build up another audience in Australia because it's different. And it'll be the same for you coming here as an Aussie Greek. They're going to be infatuated with you the same way they're infatuated with me in Australia. It's a different perspective. You're right. And that's what works, I think.
And look, the thing with us is we're stand-up comedians. We tell stories, we don't have, I can dress up. I can do my Eleftheria character, or I can do my, Sakis character or whatever. But pure stand-up is the best form of comedy. And it's about telling stories. You can tell a story. Well, the other day, Ange, I saw a comment. Someone put down, Ange, why do you tell Greek stories all the time? Why not? Why does what's his name? Billy Connolly tell stories about being Scottish? Because he's telling his own personal story. It's his own experience. Our experience is the Greek Australian, Greek American diasporic experience. That's why we're sharing it with the world, because it's true. It's not fake. It's not fake news. It's not a fake story. It's our personal stories. And, don't get in the way of that.
Now, you make a good point about that because people go, what's wrong with it? It's funny. And I think there's a lot of zelia there. There is. Yeah. One thing goes, Greeks are talking about this and that. And I think, even I toured in Greece doing stand-up with Hadzi Pavlo. I was nervous because, our Greek is conversational, but it's not, at the same time, it's not something that we don't, maybe more in Melbourne, but I'm not talking in LA. I'm not talking Greek every day. I got one friend who speaks Greek and he's Lebanese, and we're talking with that guy, so I told them when I went to Greece, George, I said, I speak Greek the way you guys speak English.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, great.
So we're in the same wavelength here.
Okay.
They loved it. And I think you're right, if you have compelling stories, there's not many Greek comics in the world. There isn't. So why not speak about it? But I think they resent the fact that we're passionate about what we talk about because that's who we are as people. And I think I really see the resentment. Like, you really like Greece? I go, hell yes. I said, when my kid finishes school, I want to go to Greece for the summer. Fuck this, fuck Canada, I just want to go to Greece. And they go, well, look at Hollywood now. Look at the world. And I told people, if you go to Greece once in your life, you're going to understand what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah. My two boys, I've got a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old, Peter and John,
right?
Go to Greek school. That's the deal. They have to go to Greek school until grade 6, until junior school or whatever it's called over there. Okay. That's the deal. If they want to continue into senior school, they can, but the deal is that.
George, have you brought them to Greece yet?
Well, I did, to justify the reason they're going to Greek school. I brought them to Greece. They came to Greece and they went, Dad, everybody speaks English. What's the point of going to Greek school?
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
now, as well as comedy, George, you played like a Greek underboss in a series also, like George Defteros.
He's a real person.
Like a mafioso, right?
Yeah. So that was interesting.
You're a trained actor also. You're not just a comic. You're like me.
No, I went to drama school. I went to college. I've got a Bachelor of Education in Drama and Media Studies and Dance. So, I've got a background, but in Australia, it's very hard to get a film or to get. So that's why I do stand-up comedy, because it's my living. I do stand-up. I MC weddings. I host functions, soccer nights, sports nights, and that's how I get by. But I would love to do more straight acting, definitely. I'm performing in a show that's coming up soon. I think it's going to be on Netflix. It's a show called Fat Pizza, and I play a character. His name is Ronald McDougall. So he's not Ronald McDonald. He's a clown. His real name's McSpiro, and he's got a franchise, like a McDonald's franchise, but it's McDougall's. But he's now gone a bit loopy because he got kicked in the McNuggets by the hero of the show, which is Paulie. He's got a pizza franchise. Right. And now there's this war between my character, who's almost like turning into a Joker character, and this delivery boy turned, franchisee. So I got to do a bit of acting, which was great. But it's mostly 12 months of nothing. But now I'm getting back into doing some stand-up and hosting, which is great.
Please let us know when that show is available to watch.
Yeah, I think. Look, it'll be available. You can see the first series. It's on Netflix now. Fat Pizza, it's called. But the new series will be starting in May in Australia, so it should be available after that for sure.
Nice.
Now, was it good playing a mobster? It's a departure from.
Yeah,
I like those roles. They're fun.
They're great, aren't they? But this is a real life character, so
it was based on a real guy.
A real guy. Yeah.
Wow.
Who lives in the same suburb as.
Wow.
When I did the part, his name's Defteros. So I was going. I said, ring up the guy and ask him. Do you pronounce his name Defteros or Defteros? How do you? Because we anglicise a lot of our names. So no, that's Defteros. Fine. He was happy with that. We went to do the filming. During the filming, he got a bit restless. He got a bit anxious. So he asked, please do not mention so anywhere I mention my name in the series, we had to cut it out. And in the titles, at the end of the show, we couldn't say George Kapiniaris plays the part of George Defteros. It's George Kapiniaris plays the lawyer. Anyway, That was that bit. The first experience that I had with the whole dealing with, I had a guy come up to me at the airport and goes, George knows that you're playing him in Underbelly, and he's pretty happy with it, okay? Just want to let you know. I've gone, fine, that's cool. I'm not going to be dead. Okay, all right. The underworld's not going to come after me. I'm going to, fine. He's a nice guy. He's got kids. He's not going to bother me. Okay, that's good. The next experience I had was his wife coming up to me at the Venator Club, which is a club in the suburb next to mine, going, they've ruined us. The bloody show came out, and now we've had to put extra gates up in our home, and everybody's after us. And I had to deal with this woman who's hysterical about what happened. I go, look, I'm just an actor, and I just try to portray your husband to the best of my ability. Whatever was given to me, I played him. I didn't play him like a bad guy. I just played him like a lawyer who was like dealing with bad guys. So I tried my best. She's hysterical, but hopefully, they've sorted things out. And that's the thing. You play a real character. You have to deal with real issues. That's the hard part about the job. I can't walk around with a security guard every day protecting me. So, that was an experience, very interesting experience.
No, 100%. And it's like, I also saw you pop up in a film, and we have a mutual friend with this guy, Alex and Eve.
Yes.
And I saw Alex and Eve. This is a great film. I saw it at the LA Greek Film Festival. It's made by Alex Likos, who's a friend of mine. I met him in Sydney, actually, by accident. And they did this film called Alex and what's his name? Who played the dad? Who was great? The big
Tony Nikolakopoulos.
Yes, he was. He was my groomsman at my wedding. Tony. That's right. Remember? And the thing. This film, guys, if you haven't seen it, it's a Greek boy, Greek Orthodox Christian guy, falls in love with a Lebanese Muslim girl, and it's so along the lines. Now, the Lebanese Muslim girl is played by a Greek girl. But she plays it well. And then the mom, and
the Greek boy is played by an Italian
guy. Okay, typical. But I'll say this: it was really funny, and really hit a point. I don't know if it's on Amazon now or one of those things, but it's one of those films I've so recommended. It was such a gem of a film. And I saw your face pop up.
I think, I played an uncle. So I was originally cast for Tony's role for the dad, but it was just not they wanted a big guy, and Tony's a big guy, you know. So I played the uncle. Yeah. So
it was a great film. And, you know, it's the spirit of making films like that. And, you know, Greek boy falls in love with a Muslim girl, and you need the Chamos, right? And it's really a good film. Like I thought Alex wanted to play the lead, but then he got old, right?
Yeah, and Richard, who played the lead, is a really good-looking guy, where Alex is just a guy, you know.
Alex is just a guy, and Alex played the brother, if I'm not mistaken, right? He plays the brother.
Yeah, that's right. Now, you know what happened? What happened with that movie? So the reviews came out. I think in LA it got great reviews.
It did.
In Australia, the reviewers said this movie is terrible, because, and I'll tell you why, because characters in film that have accents are not real. And I said, really? I better tell my mum, who speaks in an accent every day, and tell her that she's just a lying bitch. You know, what do you mean characters that have accents aren't real? You know, half our family has people with accents. So that's what we've come to. But do you think if you were ethnic, you love that show.
Do you think they hated it? It touched a subject, I think. It's subject matter that it was, I would say, not controversial. That is very probable. That about a man falling in love with a woman from two different religions.
I host weddings now in Sydney. Every second marriage is a Greek-Lebanese combination, right? You know, and half of those are, you know, an Orthodox marrying a Muslim. You know, that's what's happening now in Sydney.
Much more progressive than here, because you know, even in America, especially the hardcore old, even in Canada, not so much in Canada, but here. It's such because you know we're coming up on our 200 years anniversary of Greek independence.
Yeah,
from the Ottomans, the Turks, and you know my wife's Armenian, so they hate them too. But I think it's changed. I think after 200 years, but you know it's like funny because people say to me, "Why would the Greeks have a disdain over people?" And I don't mean it in this way, but I go, "Well, because Muslim people were slaves to them for 400 years." So, there's a little bit of miso there.
Why do Jewish people not like the Nazis? You know,
they were baking them. So, of course, they're not like. And then I said, the one guy said to me, well, what did the Greeks do? I go, unlike the Italians, Spanish, and French, who were pointing out the Jews, we at least tried to hide them and give them baptismal certificates. So, fuck you, you know? And then they shut up right away because they don't know their history. But, you know, George,
I'm going to ask a question. I've been writing material now. I couldn't write during lockdown. I was so depressed. All I did was learn music and play guitar and what have you. I couldn't write any material. But now I'm cramming for an exam. I've got a show in a month. And I've got to come up with some new material, not for the audience, for my wife, who's going to be in the audience. She's my worst critic. Anyway, so I'm cramming now. So I'm writing. And one of the routines that I'm skimming across is why we go to Greek. So I might use it. I might not use it because, like that guy said to Ange the other day, why do you do Greek stuff all the time? So anyway, but this is a question for the show today. Why do us Greeks go to Greek school, yet the Italians, they can do whatever they like? But every Saturday, my kids, me, you know, had to go to Greek school. Why? And you know what? Why are the Italians more Italians than the Greeks, even though they didn't go to Italian school? That's the question. I don't get that.
It's a good question, but I think I think it stems from the fear of us losing our culture. I really do. And that's universal. That's around the world. Greeks want their kids to be Greek because it's not, we're not a big group. What is it? 11 million in Greece, another 11, 12 million in the world. Out of 7.2 billion people, there's maybe 25 million Greeks-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of us. I think. What do you think, Forty? Say, jump in.
I was going to make a point to George's question. I remember as a kid growing up, you know, our parents made my brother and my sister all go to Greek school because I felt that my mom wanted to support the Greek school program at the church because all of her friends were sending their kids to Greek school, so we had to go too. So that kind of has been instilled in my head, remembering that we went because all my mother's friends' kids went as well to Greek school. But in the home, we only spoke Greek. So we were still speaking good Greek. Obviously, we didn't write it as well, but I think the fact that you just mentioned other ethnic groups don't send their children to, their language, whether it's Italian or Spanish or other ethnic groups,
or Cantonese or or Indian.
I think we have like the largest structure of language school than any other ethnic group because of our church community.
That's for you guys. For us, the church and the school isn't really one entity. It's different. So the church does its own thing. Some churches had Greek schools, right, in Melbourne in the old days, but now it's more or less the school is its own business. Oh, okay. If you know what? Yeah.
Well, you see the difference also, guys. The difference, George, in Australia and like parts of Canada is that there are Greek towns and Greek areas. Where in LA, everything centers around the church. So the Greek school will be at the church. We don't really have a Greek area or Greek town in LA.
If I can make a comment, in Boston or in Massachusetts, we have about 25 active Greek church communities.
Right.
And each Greek church community has a Greek school. So there's 25 active Greek schools.
And the seminaries there too. Remember we did the show there?
Yes. Yep.
Well, my question, my question to all of you guys is: you're happy you went to Greek school at the end of the day, even if you only went, for the first.
Why I'm happy? I'm happy because I made a lot of friends from Greek school.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
What about you, Ange?
Getting thrown out, George. I kept getting thrown out of Greek school. I talk about to lemoni, to kalo lemoni, ototos echito kalo lemoni. I felt like, what the hell is this?
I'll tell you one thing about Greek school that was really strange to me was in Greek school, my beloved Greek school teacher actually twisted my ear and whacked me with a ruler, whereas in American school, that never ever happened to anyone.
Well, when I was going to school, it happened in both schools. So I got the strap, they used to call. I got 8 of the best for smiling, for laughing at English school. But then I went to Greek school in Kyrio Tsusi, and his name sounded like the feeling Tsuzi, right?
Well, I had asked my mom. I had asked my mother how come my Greek school teacher can do this, but in American school, we didn't have an answer.
Our parents at Greek school used to get a tip. The teachers used to get a tip if they smacked us. Did you smack him? Yes, $100 for you.
But Ange, how would you feel today if that happened to our kids? Like, what if the teacher actually whacked one of our kids today?
Is it a bad thing, really? You want my honest opinion? I don't think it's such a bad thing. But nowadays, no, Kyle, don't do that. Look, man, we turned out pretty okay. I think it's just, you see, I think George hit it on the head. It's just being Greek. Greeks let other Greeks beat their kids. They don't give a shit. It's the
thing us Greeks do is we yell. My wife yells the whole day. She's yelling. That's why I'm in the office in here. But you know what? It works. It works. As soon as she raises her voice, my kids just shut up.
Mm-hmm.
But
we're not allowed to yell at
people, George. That you're still. Yeah, I think you're holding the old flame still, and I think deep down, like Greek schools downtown LA at our church for my daughter, and it's Saturday mornings. I'm always on the road, so I feel bad for my wife. She got to take her all day to regular school and then go to Greek school. But I really want her to go. But I find when we went to Greece, she was picking it up quicker, and you also have to talk to them in Greek. And I think that material, because I think the good thing with that material, George, we've all had to go through that so we can identify with it.
Well, that's right. And now you're talking probably to a generation that doesn't have to go through that too. So you got to use that material within the next couple of years or it expires. It's got finished. So, but that's what material's like.
It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Right, George? But it's not a bad thing.
People love it.
Look at the Jews.
Yeah.
The Jews keep their faith going. I can understand why the Greeks want to maintain it. It's going to diminish in a few generations.
Yeah.
They're not going to speak Greek. They're going to be like Ella, Tho, Ego, Pau, Volta, Domadas. They're going to be like high-functioning Greeks, where we at least Mexilo and go to school, Paso Scolio, Thelis de Thelis. We had no choice. Our parents are from the Horia.
I've said to my kids, it's the best way to speak code when we're out in public, or if I want to see John, my youngest, he can't do it. He's not good at it. But Peter latched onto it early because he's a yard, basically raised him when he was little. So if I want to hide something from John, Peter and I speak in code, and that's Greek. Nito pistiputa, al τον έχω πάρει ένα δώρο και το έχω κρύψει από κάτω από την καρέκλα. Yeah, baba, good.
That's hilarious.
Nice.
That's like so. George, let me ask you, how important is, and even because the show's called Connecting Greeks, and you've done everything. I think we're similar in many ways, where we've done a lot, met a lot of people, done a lot of things. How important is it now, even culturally, for us to laugh even more? People are on the fucking edge. Like I mean, people have not worked for a year. Money's an issue. Mental health is an issue. How important? I think when it fully opens up, how big do you think it's going to be for us going back? I think it's going to be really big.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. It's just, you've got those parameters like, social distancing and 1.5 meters apart and what have you. But the people that are coming to the shows, I haven't heard one heckle. I haven't heard one complaint.
Right. People
who've come to my show and seen the same material, and I've gone, did you see anything new? They went, no, but hey, I just love seeing you, man. They're so happy. It's like a church sermon. They're so happy to be back out and about, watching theatre, live performances, that you can do anything now. That's why I want to try a whole lot of new material now before we go on the tour, because they're up for it. They're up for anything. So you're going to get your most honest opinion now when you're doing the live performances. Forget about Facebook, forget about Instagram.
Right.
Live performances, you'll get the honest answer from your crowd because they're just so welcoming.
Well, I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, my first gig was in Florida. I went with Russell. Russell, because you want to come and, feature. Yes, I hadn't worked in 11 and a half months. So I left Nazi communist California and I went to Tropazides, I call them. And I went to the land of Trump, Florida. Everything was open, George. Comedy clubs, restaurants, bars, cinemas. No mask, camiseta. Everything was open. And I'm like, this is the same country. And now the governor of Texas said, fuck it, we're opening Texas, Kentucky, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, North Carolina.
Wait a minute. But what about Biden? What about the president of America? Isn't he saying anything?
Well,
probably because ever since he got in, I think everything stopped. Climate change has stopped changing. People have stopped dying.
and now I call it the divided states of America, because everybody just does what they want here. And I understand it. And I'm not making fun of COVID. I know people have died. I know it's a serious thing. I got my thing. What I'm confused about, and I think as comics we have to pick up on this, is I said at 5 hours from where I live, we've been shut down for 11 and almost 12 months now. In 2 weeks, it'll be 12 months. And I went to Florida and everything was open.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you see that?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Melbourne's the same. Melbourne is like post-war Germany or something. Everyone's so depressed down here. Yeah. We went to Darwin to do a big gala show with all the top comics, and I was, involved too. There's a big Greek community in Darwin as well. You got to check out Darwin next time. Oh my God, Tahir and I are walking down the main street, Mitchell Avenue, and there's people dancing on the street. And we're going, we haven't seen this. There's no masks. What's going on? This is crazy, And it was like we were in another country, but we were in the same country. So I can imagine what Florida would be like.
Did Ari fall asleep? It looks like Ari's sleeping.
Ari hasn't said anything.
He hasn't said nothing. He's checking it. He's there on Tinder or something, looking on his phone.
Ari, are you single, Ari?
No. Married with
married?
one baby, yeah.
That's why you're on the Tinder. Not the Tinder.
I have a 9-hour drive early in the morning, so I'm just like trying to organize myself to go right to bed when this ends.
Okay. No, I'm sorry we're doing a podcast while you're.
Hey, I'm here minding my business. You guys
got to go to Vegas tomorrow. I thought he fell asleep. All I saw was the hat down, and we're
Ari's in Washington D.C. He has responsibilities,
Yes.
Yeah.
Ari's in Washington. Where are you driving to tomorrow, Ari?
Boston.
Are you going to Boston? I'm driving to Vegas tomorrow. It's 3.5 hours. So I'm doing shows in Vegas, George. And we're allowed, and Vegas is only 50 people per show.
Wow.
That's it. Well, it's better than nothing. So
that's right. That's right. Even that's people. Good. So you guys can leave the state, your state.
Yes.
So you can, because in Melbourne at one stage for probably about 6 months, we couldn't travel 5 kilometers from home. So if I wanted to
That's
go
right. I
to
heard about that. Yeah.
the mall, like Westfield, to do some clothes shopping, I couldn't go because it's 5.5 meters. So we had the police out, fines, arresting people. If you were over 5 kilometers from your house, you'd cop a fine.
Well,
so
in Greece, at least, you can't leave your house unless you text some local authorities number before they give you an approval to leave. Isn't that right?
Yeah,
for us,
and the grocery stores too.
Greece.
The grocery stores to send you a text
yeah.
to pick up groceries. Yeah.
And if you don't have if you don't have an approval code when you're out there if authorities check, then you get fined for not having an approval for leaving the house.
But look, Greece was similar numbers to Australia at one stage. They were doing quite well, compared to Italy and a couple of those other European cities. And then what did they do wrong? They opened everything up during the summer holidays, thinking that COVID dies in the summer sun. And then what happened? They're dealing with thousands of deaths now. So it's all up here. You just got to be sensible. You can't be stupid, but you got to be sensible. So, wear a mask. If it helps, wear the mask. You're out in public, wear a mask. If you don't, you're standing in line at a fast food place, don't stand right up against somebody. Give them a bit of space. It's just common sense, to control this. Ange, did you say you took the vaccine? Have you had the vaccine?
I got a lot. Well, I'm a vaccine jumper. So I'll tell you how it worked. My mother-in-law is over 65. She went to get it. We went to Pacoima to the fire station here. But when the guy came in the car, she didn't want to take it right away. I wanted to take it. So when the guy came in, they don't ask they had the appointment, who's getting the shot. And my wife said he is. So the guy came in my arm, bye-bye. So they give it to me in the car. And I'm going to go back on Tuesday to get my second shot where they say
you feeling anything, side effects or anything like that?
My arm was a bit sore, and that's it. And it's funny because now they're calling them vaccine jumpers here in America.
Right, yeah.
Vaccine jumpers on ABC News tonight. So everybody's freaked out about it. But I'm like, I want to get it because the earlier you get fully vaccinated, I think the earlier we can go back to work again.
That's right, especially if your job is moving from state to state. You don't want to spread anything, so why not?
Angelo, your voice is a little different.
We did a parody the other day, myself and my colleague Gab Rossi. We do a musical parody called Lockdown the Musical. It goes for about 16 minutes, and we did it at the end of our comedy show at the Comics Lounge. So the last song was based on a Hoodoo Guru song called What's My Scene? But we're singing, what's in the vaccine? What's in the vaccine? And a scientist gets up on stage. This woman who's pregnant gets up on stage and she goes, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be telling the truth. Comedy is about truth. And we're going, no, comedy is about hanging shit on everything. What do you mean it's about truth? And Gab's going, all right, what's in the vaccine? Tell us. No, I'm not going to tell you. You're not educated enough to know. And all this stuff's going on. And it's gone from a comedy show to a political debate. So that's the feeling at the moment in the room. So
are you going to put that online, George? Are you going to put that online, George?
I think it is online. So if you go to the Comics Lounge, let's say www.comicslounge.com.au, the show, it's called a Woggy Christmas, we called it.
A Woggy Christmas.
Yeah, very Woggy. Very Woggy COVID normal Christmas is what we called it. So, and we've got a lot of stuff, not only ethnic stuff, but on the whole pandemic. And I loved it. Because we just basically
awesome. Now, where else can
make fun of the whole
people,
thing.
if people want to search you and on our fan base, where can people find you now, George? If they on your handles, I know, but tell us so the guys can put it up on the site.
So my name is basically my website, my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter. So my website is www.georgekapiniaris.com. And that's a good place to start. So
perfect. And they'll find everything from there.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I was on your site. You got a nice site, and it's very accessible. And normally what we do, because it's been fun, like an hour's just zip by on us, which it's a good interview when it can go by this fast.
Oh, we'll have to do another one.
For sure. We're going to have you back for sure. And what we normally do, George, before we end it, we do a little Q&A. Forti has questions about your Greekness preferences.
Right.
And we do it. And then we do that, and then Ari takes us out. So I just, it's been so much fun, George, and I'm going to hand it over and I look forward to working with you again, doing something.
Definitely.
Somewhere.
Definitely.
You're a
Count
funny
me in
guy
if we-
and you're a gentleman.
Thank you, my friend. You're a great mate, and thank you. And definitely count me in unless something's come up and I can't be there.
Right.
Definitely count me in for this big show.
I already have you in the mind. I think it's a perfect fit, so I think I'm hoping we can now, right now, as you know, it's all talk. I'm hoping we can make it happen. I like to make things happen. I don't like to, we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll hand it over to
definitely.
Adi now at the 40.
Thank you. Great chatting to you, Angie. Yes.
Thank you so much, George. It's been not just a pleasure, but an honor to have you on our show.
Thank you, Forty. Thank you very much. I've got cousins in not Canada, I should say, not America, and they're 40. There's two 40 Kapiniaris over there. If he's watching, hello.
Great name. But yes, this is great as always, because with every guest that comes on, there's more than just a connection of us being Greek, but we definitely have similar experiences, upbringings, things that we think, does anyone else experience this but us? But yes, you bring it home.
Should I play my baglama while we're doing this?
Yes, please.
I'll play my baglama.
Do it.
Here it is. Here we go.
Bring it.
Bring it on.
All right. So I'll get points for this, don't I? I get extra points.
Yes.
There we go. I get niffy points. Here we go. All right. There we go.
Cool.
All right. So here we go.
So George, tell us, growing up as a Greek Aussie, the tune is just jamming right there. But as far as the cuisine at home growing up as a kid.
My favorite.
No, wait. I was going to mention it. You need to tell us your favorite and least favorite Greek food growing up.
All right, I'll tell you straight away. Souvlaki, I could eat that every day for the rest of my life. Souvlaki, pork, chicken, lamb, Baghdadi special, all the meats in one go. I love souvlaki. In fact, I cooked one yesterday for the kids because my wife was at the high school. So love souvlaki. The worst, bamyas.
Oh,
the worst is bamyas. It's like beans rolled in snot, mucus, and stepped on at the hairdressing salon. That's why they call it soul food. It's because it's got hair on it from the hairdressing salon. I cannot eat. And I took my kids to Greece to eat souvlaki, and all the relatives are now vegans, and they're going, eat bamyas. I'm going, what kind of Greeks are you, mates? Hey? They go, we don't eat meat because the fats from the cows are killing the planet. And I said, oh, yeah? What do vegans eat? Beans. What do beans make you do? They make you fart. Kill the vegans!
Oh, it is. Beautiful. Moving on, George. Growing up in a Greek household, obviously, we listen a lot from our parents. Any memorable Greek sayings that your parents instilled in you growing up as a kid? Any memorable Greek sayings?
So many. There are so many. But the first thing that came to my mind, so I'll do that one. My dad going, what's it all about it? Not what's it all about? What's it all about it? Just adding that extra word. George, tell me something. What's it all about it? So that's one. That's one.
Awesome. And we always discuss the fact that, as Greeks, we're definitely superstitious.
Yeah.
And are there any superstition that you still live by in your life at the moment?
All of them. Every time you drive past church, of course, you do your prosophier.
Yeah.
Every time you go past your parents' grave or your dad's grave, even my kids did the prosophier. That's the standard. Even the taxi drivers, in Greece, they go, do malaga, di budana, do malaga, ecclesia. Yeah. So that's one of the standard. My dad, for some reason, I still don't know why. Maybe it's because I was leaving the door open in the cupboard. But he said, don't leave the cupboard door open because it's bad luck. But I think he was just doing that to get me to close the cupboard door.
Okay. I'm going to use that.
And of course, the pupusu. So you don't, I'm spitting on everyone. My kids, there's a lot of there's a lot of spitting in our house. So that's just some of them. Oh, someone told me my mother-in-law, Kiparisia, which means pine tree. She told me the other day that you shouldn't smell bread.
Oh,
it's bad luck.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know why, but you shouldn't smell bread because it's bad luck. And I think the best smell in the world is fresh baked bread.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that came from. And with bread, of course, there was a whole thing where your mum used to say to you, eat everything off your plate, especially the bread, because it's your strength
Yeah.
Even if bread fell on the ground, you had to kiss the bread and then eat the bread. Now it's like, don't eat that. It's extra carbs. You don't need that. So that's a couple of
Awesome.
things there.
That was great. Thank you so much, George. That was great. We'd love to hear a little more of you jamming right now.
Take us out, George.
All right. Bye from me. Bye from Melbourne, Australia. Lovely talking to you guys. See you in 6 months. Yasas ben ya. I didn't say I was good at it.
You're doing good. You're doing good, definitely.
No, I can't play. See you guys. Yes.
We want to say thank you again, George. Thanks, Angelo. Thank you, Forty. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Check out the show tomorrow, and all of George's information will be linked up. And thanks again. Have a great night. Stay safe. Be well.
Bye, guys. Bye, George. Bye, Forty. Bye, Adi. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.